A wolf suddenly appears in the hospital, frightening everyone around. But what seemed like a dangerous invasion quickly turns into something much bigger. A nurse, in tears, discovers the true reason behind it. And the revelation will surprise you. The corridors of Harborview Medical Center in Seattle echoed with an unusual stillness that winter night. The familiar sounds of footsteps and distant conversations barely penetrated the heavy silence that hung in the air. Emily Foster, a 28-year-old nurse known throughout the hospital for her unwavering determination and deep empathy for her patients, stood at her station, reviewing the night's charts with meticulous attention. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give it a like. Tell us which city you're watching us from. We continue. The monotony of the evening shift had lulled the staff into a false sense of routine, but Emily couldn't shake an inexplicable feeling of unease. Perhaps it was the way the winter wind whistled through the building's exterior, or maybe it was her naturally intuitive nature that sensed the approaching disruption to their quiet night. The calm shattered in an instant. Through the main entrance burst a sight that defied all logic and hospital protocol. A massive grey wolf, its powerful presence commanding immediate attention. But it wasn't the wolf's unexpected appearance alone that caused chaos to erupt in the normally orderly hospital. It was what the creature carried in its jaws, a small, vulnerable being that Emily couldn't immediately identify. Panic spread like wildfire through the hospital corridors. Patients screamed and fled their rooms, staff members scattered in all directions, and security guards rushed forward, their training proving inadequate for such an unprecedented situation. Amid the mayhem, Emily remained rooted to her spot, her heart racing, but her mind surprisingly clear. There was something about the wolf's behavior that struck her as peculiar. Its movements were purposeful, almost gentle, as it carried its precious cargo. David Kane, a young resident who had only recently joined the hospital staff, appeared beside Emily. While others fled in terror, he approached cautiously, his medical training warring with his natural instincts. "We need to contain the situation," he whispered to Emily, his voice steady despite the fear evident in his eyes. The wolf's gaze met Emily's, and in that moment, she understood that this was no ordinary animal encounter. The creature's eyes held an intelligence that sent shivers down her spine. Without speaking, Emily began moving slowly toward an empty examination room, her movements deliberate and non-threatening. The wolf, as if understanding her intentions, followed her lead. Together, Emily and David managed to guide the wolf into the vacant room, closing the door behind them. In the confined space, under the harsh fluorescent lights, Emily could finally get a better look at the small creature the wolf had brought. What she saw made her gasp. Clear surgical marks marred the being's body, precise incisions that could only have been made by human hands. While David attempted to process the bizarre situation, Emily's attention was drawn to something else, an old file folder tucked away on a nearby shelf. The yellowed edges of papers peeked out, seemingly forgotten by time. With trembling hands, she reached for the documents, her nursing instincts telling her that every detail mattered in this strange scenario. The contents of the folder sent her mind reeling. Page after page detailed genetic manipulation studies involving hybrid animals. The technical language and detailed diagrams spoke of experiments that pushed the boundaries of both science and ethics. Emily's hands shook as she showed the documents to David, whose face paled as he scanned the contents. The wolf remained surprisingly calm, standing guard over the small creature it had brought. Its behavior suggested not just intelligence, but purpose. This wasn't a random incident. The wolf had chosen this hospital, this moment, for a reason. Time seemed to slow in that examination room as Emily and David tried to make sense of what they were witnessing. The small creature occasionally emitted soft sounds of distress, each whimper tugging at Emily's heart. Her years of nursing experience had taught her to remain calm in crisis situations, but nothing had prepared her for this. Word of the unusual situation must have spread quickly through proper channels, because soon they received notice that Dr. Ben Holden, a renowned wildlife specialist, was on his way to the hospital. His expertise would be crucial in understanding what they were dealing with, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this situation went far beyond normal wildlife behavior. As they waited for Dr. Holden's arrival, Emily continued to study the mysterious documents, each page revealing more disturbing details about genetic experiments that seemed more like science fiction than reality. The wolf's eyes never left her, as if ensuring that these crucial pieces of evidence had fallen into the right hands. The night was far from over, and Emily Foster found herself at the beginning of what would prove to be the most challenging and extraordinary experience of her career. As she stood in that examination room, surrounded by mysteries that defied explanation, she couldn't possibly know that this was just the first chapter in a story that would challenge everything she believed about the natural world and human nature itself. Dr. Ben Holden arrived at Harborview Medical Center with an air of quiet authority that seemed to calm the chaotic atmosphere. His weathered face and steady demeanor spoke of years spent studying wildlife, but there was something unsettling in his expression as he entered the examination room, a look that suggested he might have expected something like this. Emily watched as the specialist's eyes darted between the majestic grey wolf, the injured creature, and the documents she still held in her hands. His calm exterior cracked slightly, revealing a flash of recognition that didn't escape her attention. David Kane stood nearby, his medical training momentarily forgotten, as he observed the expert's reaction. "I've been tracking unusual activities in Washington's forests for months now," Dr. Holden said, his voice low and measured as he approached the examination table. "But this," he gestured to the small creature, "this confirms our worst suspicions." The wolf's ears perked up at his words, but it remained surprisingly calm, as if acknowledging another ally in its mission. As Dr. Holden examined the injured being, his experienced hands moving with practiced precision, Emily noticed how he kept glancing at the mysterious documents she had discovered. "Those papers," he said, nodding toward the folder. "May I?" Emily handed them over, watching as he flipped through the pages with growing concern. "These are detailed records of genetic manipulation experiments," he explained, his voice barely above a whisper. "Someone has been conducting unauthorized hybrid animal research in the forests around Washington state." The revelation hung heavy in the air, making the already tense atmosphere almost unbearable. The small creature on the examination table stirred, drawing their attention. Under the bright hospital lights, they could now see clear evidence of surgical procedures, precise incisions and careful alterations that spoke of sophisticated medical intervention. Dr. Holden's examination confirmed what the documents suggested. This was no ordinary animal, but a hybrid, a creature born of controversial genetic manipulation. Emily's nursing instincts kicked in as she noticed the creature's signs of distress. Working alongside Dr. Holden, she helped provide basic care while David assisted, his medical expertise complementing their efforts. The wolf watched their every move, its intelligent eyes reflecting an almost human-like concern for its charge. "There's something else you need to know," Dr. Holden said as they worked. "Over the past few months, there have been reports of strange activities in the forests, unauthorized vehicles, mysterious lights in the night, and most concerning, the disappearance of rare species." He paused, making sure his words registered with both Emily and David. "Whatever's happening goes beyond simple research. These experiments, they're organized, well-funded, and completely outside any ethical boundaries." The wolf's behavior seemed to confirm Dr. Holden's words. Its protective stance, the purposeful way it had sought help at a major medical facility, this was no random occurrence. The creature had chosen Harborview Medical Center for a reason, and now Emily understood why. They had the resources and expertise to help. As they discussed their next steps, Emily found herself drawn to the wolf's penetrating gaze. There was an undeniable intelligence there, a depth of understanding that challenged everything she thought she knew about animal behavior. Dr. Holden noticed her fascination and shared his theory. "These wolves, they're different. They've developed abilities and intelligence far beyond their natural capabilities. Someone has been pushing the boundaries of nature, creating something entirely new." The night deepened outside the hospital windows, but none of them felt the passage of time. They were too engrossed in the implications of what they had discovered. The documents detailed experiments that seemed more suited to science fiction than reality, yet the evidence lay right before them on the examination table. David, who had been quietly processing everything, suddenly spoke up. "We can't keep them here," he said, his voice firm. "The hospital isn't equipped for this, and whoever is behind these experiments might come looking." His words carried a weight that made Emily's heart race. They needed a plan, somewhere safe to take these creatures. Dr. Holden nodded thoughtfully. "There's a place," he said slowly, "the Wolf Haven International Sanctuary. It's south of Seattle, and they have the facilities to handle unique cases like this." The mention of the sanctuary seemed to catch the wolf's attention, its ears perking up at the words. But as they discussed the logistics of moving their unusual patients, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that their discovery was just the beginning. The documents hinted at larger operations, more extensive experiments hidden in the depths of Washington's forests. Something told her that the wolf hadn't just brought them an injured hybrid, it had brought them the first piece of a much larger puzzle. Outside the examination room, the hospital had returned to its usual rhythm, but inside, Emily Foster knew their world had changed irreversibly. As she watched Dr. Holden continue his examination, she realized they stood at a crossroads. Whatever they decided to do next would set them on a path that would challenge not only their professional lives, but their understanding of the natural world itself. The decision to follow the wolf into Olympic Forest came with its own set of fears and uncertainties. Emily Foster found herself sitting in Dr. Holden's sturdy SUV, watching the Seattle cityscape fade into dense wilderness through the passenger window. David Kane sat in the back, maintaining a watchful eye on their unusual companion, the grey wolf that had turned their ordinary night at Harborview Medical Center into something extraordinary. The hybrid creature they had treated rested in a specially prepared carrier, its condition stable but still concerning. Dr. Ben Holden navigated the vehicle through increasingly remote roads, his experienced hands steady on the wheel as he shared more about the disturbing patterns he'd observed in recent months. "The Olympic Forest has always been mysterious," he explained, his voice grave as they ventured deeper into the wilderness. "But lately there's been something different about it. Rangers have reported unusual activities, equipment they've never seen before, and most concerning, areas where the wildlife seems to have completely vanished." Emily couldn't help but notice how the wolf grew more alert as they approached their destination, its powerful body tense with anticipation. The creature's behavior continued to challenge everything she thought she knew about animal intelligence. It wasn't just leading them, it was guiding them with purpose, with an almost human-like understanding of their mission. The forest loomed before them, ancient trees reaching toward a sky growing heavy with clouds. As they ventured deeper into the Olympic wilderness, the modern world seemed to fade away entirely. The road became rougher, forcing them to slow their pace. Emily's heart pounded with each mile they covered, her nursing instincts telling her they were heading towards something unprecedented. David broke the tense silence, voicing what they were all thinking. "Those documents we found, they mentioned military applications, didn't they?" He leaned forward between the seats, his voice barely above a whisper. "Creating enhanced animals for tracking, for surveillance." Dr. Holden nodded grimly. "The possibilities are both fascinating and terrifying. These aren't just random experiments. They're calculated, purposeful modifications to create something entirely new." He paused, glancing at their wolf companion. "The question is, who's behind it all, and what's their ultimate goal?" The wolf suddenly became agitated, its ears perking forward. Through the dense canopy of trees, Emily caught glimpses of what appeared to be a clearing ahead. "Doctor." Holden carefully pulled the vehicle to the side of the narrow forest road, concealing it behind a cluster of thick undergrowth. The tension in the air was palpable as they prepared to continue on foot. "From here, we follow the wolf," Dr. Holden instructed, gathering essential supplies into a backpack. Emily noticed him discreetly checking his satellite phone's signal. Out here, they would be completely cut off from the outside world. The thought sent a shiver down her spine. As they ventured deeper into the forest, Emily was struck by the unnatural silence. No birds sang, no small animals scurried through the underbrush. It was as if the wildlife knew to stay away from this part of the forest. The wolf led them along what appeared to be a game trail, though Emily suspected it was something else entirely. The trek was challenging, but Emily's determination drove her forward. Her practical nursing shoes, meant for long hospital shifts, now carried her over fallen logs and through dense undergrowth. David stayed close, his medical bag clutched tightly, ready to assist if needed. The young resident's face showed a mixture of fear and fascination, that Emily understood all too well. Through breaks in the canopy, Emily caught glimpses of the darkening sky above. Time seemed to move differently here in the depths of Olympic Forest, as if the normal rules of the world didn't quite apply. The wolf moved with increasing urgency, checking back frequently to ensure they kept pace. Dr. Holden's expertise in wildlife behavior became invaluable as they navigated the challenging terrain. He pointed out signs that would have been invisible to untrained eyes: marks on trees, disturbed vegetation, and other indicators that this area had seen recent human activity. "These aren't the marks of Forest Service vehicles or normal research teams," he explained in hushed tones. "This is something else entirely." As they pushed deeper into the forest, Emily's mind returned to the hybrid creature they had treated at the hospital. Its surgical scars told a story of sophisticated medical procedures far beyond what should be possible in a makeshift forest facility. Whatever they were walking toward, it represented a level of scientific advancement that both thrilled and terrified her. The wolf suddenly stopped, its powerful body going completely still. A head barely visible through the trees, Emily could make out what appeared to be a concrete structure. The discovery sent a chill through her body. This was what the wolf had been leading them to all along. But as they stood at the edge of this discovery, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to uncover something that would change their lives forever. The concrete structure emerged from the forest like a ghost from another time, its weathered surface partially concealed by creeping vegetation. Emily, David, and Dr. Holden stood at the edge of a small clearing, their breath visible in the cool forest air. The wolf had led them to what appeared to be an abandoned well, though its construction suggested it was anything but ordinary. Emily's heart raced as they approached the structure. Years of working in emergency medicine had taught her to trust her instincts, and everything about this situation screamed that they were about to uncover something extraordinary. The wolf's behavior had changed too. Its movements became more urgent, more purposeful, as if communicating the importance of what lay ahead. Dr. Holden moved forward first, his experienced eyes scanning the area for any signs of recent activity. "This isn't just any well," he whispered, running his hand along the concrete surface. "Look at these markings, these modifications. This was designed to hide something." The structure's walls bore subtle signs of technological adaptation: small vents, reinforced edges, and what appeared to be modern security features carefully disguised as decay. As they circled the structure, David suddenly called out in a hushed voice, "Over here." He had discovered what appeared to be an access point, partially hidden behind thick vegetation. The wolf immediately moved toward it, its behavior confirming they were on the right track. The creature's intelligence continued to amaze Emily. This wasn't just animal instinct, but calculated guidance. With careful movements, they cleared away the concealing plants, revealing a way down into the darkness below. The sound that emerged from the depths made Emily's blood run cold, soft whimpers and unusual movements, suggesting they weren't alone. Dr. Holden produced a powerful flashlight from his backpack, its beam cutting through the darkness like a knife. "We need to be careful," he warned, but Emily was already moving forward, her nurturing instincts taking over. The wolf led the way down, its silver-gray coat almost glowing in the beam of the flashlight. The descent seemed to take forever, each step leading them deeper into what felt like another world entirely. When they reached the bottom, what they found took their breath away. In the confined space of the underground chamber, multiple holding areas had been carved into the concrete walls, but it was what occupied these spaces that made Emily's heart clench with emotion. Several hybrid creatures, each bearing similar surgical marks to the one they had treated at the hospital. These beings were unlike anything Emily had ever seen in her medical career. They showed signs of genetic manipulation that went far beyond natural evolution. Enhanced physical features, unusual markings, and most strikingly, eyes that held an unmistakable intelligence. Dr. Holden moved among them with professional interest, but Emily could see the shock and concern on his face. "These creatures," he said, his voice tight with emotion, "they're the result of highly sophisticated genetic engineering. The surgical marks, the hybrid features, someone has been conducting extensive experiments right here in Olympic Forest." David, his medical training kicking in, began examining the creatures closest to him, documenting their conditions with his phone's camera. Emily found herself drawn to a particularly small hybrid, huddled in the corner of one of the holding areas. As she approached, the creature looked up at her with eyes that seemed to hold the weight of the world. Without hesitation, she reached out and the small being moved into her arms, seeking comfort. The moment overwhelmed her. Tears welled up in her eyes as she held this living proof of humanity's capacity for both scientific achievement and moral failure. The wolf watched this interaction intently, as if approving of Emily's compassionate response. It moved through the space with familiarity, checking on each of the hybrid creatures, its behavior suggesting a deep connection to these unfortunate beings. Emily realized that this wasn't just a random discovery. The wolf had deliberately sought help at Harborview Medical Center, knowing somehow that they would follow it back to this hidden facility. As they documented their findings, David's medical expertise proved invaluable. "These surgical modifications," he observed, "they're incredibly advanced. Whoever did this has access to cutting-edge medical technology." He pointed out various features that suggested military applications, enhanced sensory organs, modified muscular systems, and other improvements that went far beyond natural capabilities. The gravity of their discovery weighed heavily on the group. These creatures weren't just experiments. They were living, breathing beings that had been subjected to extensive modifications without any regard for their welfare. Emily's nursing training had taught her to remain professional in difficult situations, but this tested the limits of her emotional control. Just as they were beginning to grasp the full scope of their discovery, a sound from above made them all freeze. The distant rumble of engines echoed through the forest, growing closer with each passing moment. Dr. Holden's expression darkened as he quickly turned off his flashlight. "We're not alone anymore," he whispered, his voice barely audible in the sudden darkness. The sound of engines grew louder, breaking the eerie silence of Olympic Forest. In the darkness of the concrete well, Emily held her breath, still cradling the small hybrid creature in her arms. "Doctor." Holden motioned for everyone to move deeper into the shadows, his experienced hand guiding them toward a concealed alcove he had spotted earlier. Through a narrow ventilation shaft, they could see the approaching headlights cutting through the forest darkness. A black pickup truck, its license plates carefully obscured, came to a stop near the concrete structure. The wolf, which had been so active moments before, now stood perfectly still, its powerful body tense with alertness. Emily's heart pounded as she watched hooded figures emerge from the vehicle. Their movements were precise and practiced, suggesting military or professional training. They carried sophisticated equipment and moved with the confidence of people who knew exactly what they were doing. David, crouching beside her, gripped his medical bag tighter, his knuckles white with tension. "They're collecting evidence," Dr. Holden whispered, barely audible. Through the shaft, they could see the figures methodically gathering items from around the facility's entrance. The operation had the feel of a carefully planned cleanup. These people knew they had been discovered and were working to eliminate any trace of their presence. The hybrid creatures seemed to sense the danger. The small being in Emily's arms pressed closer to her, while the others huddled together in their enclosures, maintaining an uncanny silence. The wolf's intelligence showed itself again as it positioned itself protectively near the group, its body language suggesting it was ready to defend them if necessary. Dr. Holden's wildlife expertise proved invaluable as he interpreted the scene unfolding above them. "Look at their equipment," he breathed, pointing to specialized cases being unloaded from the truck. "That's not standard research gear. Those are military-grade containment units." His words confirmed their suspicions about the true nature of these experiments. Emily watched in horror as one of the figures produced what appeared to be a digital tablet, scanning the area systematically. "They're searching for something specific," David observed, his medical training helping him recognize the methodical nature of their movements. The tension in the underground chamber became almost unbearable as the footsteps above grew closer to their hiding spot. The wolf's ears suddenly pricked forward, detecting something the humans couldn't yet hear. Moments later, a second vehicle approached, another black truck identical to the first. More figures emerged, their hushed conversations barely audible through the concrete. Though their words were indistinct, the urgency in their tone was clear. Through it all, Emily couldn't help but notice how the hybrid creatures responded to these newcomers. Unlike their reaction to Emily and her companions, these beings showed clear signs of distress in the presence of their creators. The small creature in her arms trembled, and Emily's nursing instincts took over as she tried to provide comfort while maintaining absolute silence. "Doctor." Holden signaled for them to move even deeper into the shadows as footsteps approached the well's entrance. The beam of a powerful flashlight cut through the darkness above, sweeping across the opening. Emily held her breath, pressing herself against the cold concrete wall. David's hand found hers in the darkness, offering silent support. The wolf, demonstrating an almost supernatural awareness of the situation, positioned itself to block the light from reaching the hiding group. Its shadow, cast large against the wall, helped conceal their presence from the searching beam. The moment seemed to stretch indefinitely as they waited, every muscle tense, every breath carefully controlled. Above them, the hooded figures continued their systematic sweep of the area. The sound of equipment being moved and containers being sealed echoed through the structure. It was clear they were removing evidence, erasing traces of their illegal experiments. Emily's mind raced with the implications. These people had resources, organization, and clearly much to hide. The small hybrid in Emily's arms suddenly shifted, almost making a sound, before she could gentle it back to stillness. The movement coincided with a pause in the activity above, and for a heart-stopping moment Emily feared they had been discovered. But the wolf, displaying its remarkable intelligence once again, created a small diversion by deliberately knocking over a distant piece of debris, drawing attention away from their hiding spot. Dr. Holden's years of experience in wildlife observation helped him read the situation with remarkable clarity. He noticed patterns in the searchers' movements that suggested they were working against a deadline. "They're rushing," he whispered, so quietly Emily could barely hear him. Something spooked them. They didn't expect to be discovered so soon. The gravity of their situation became increasingly clear. They weren't just witnesses to unauthorized experiments anymore. They were now hiding from what appeared to be a highly organized operation with military connections. The documents they had found at Harborview Medical Center were just the tip of the iceberg. The reality was far more complex and dangerous than any of them had imagined. The return to Harborview Medical Center felt surreal after what they had witnessed in Olympic Forest. Emily, David, and Dr. Holden had managed to wait out the mysterious visitors, their hearts still racing from the close encounter. Now, as they walked through the familiar hospital corridors with their unusual charges, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The hybrid creatures had been carefully transported back to the hospital, a decision that felt both necessary and dangerous. They needed proper medical care, and the hospital's resources were essential for documenting their conditions. The wolf, ever vigilant, had followed them back, its presence both reassuring and concerning in the clinical setting. Emily's first indication that something was wrong came when she tried to access her computer terminal. The system, usually reliable, displayed strange error messages before shutting down completely. David, attempting to retrieve medical supplies from a secure storage room, found the electronic lock malfunctioning. These could have been coincidences, but Emily's instincts told her otherwise. "The equipment failures are systematic," Dr. Holden observed, his voice low as they gathered in a quiet corner of the emergency department. "It's as if someone is deliberately interfering with our ability to document these cases." His words sent a chill down Emily's spine. They weren't just dealing with mysterious experiments anymore. The threat had followed them home. The wolf's behavior had changed too. The creature moved through the hospital corridors with increased alertness, its attention focused particularly on certain staff members. Emily began to notice patterns in its reactions, how it would grow tense around specific individuals, including some long-time hospital employees. David, organizing their findings from the forest facility, suddenly noticed something alarming. "The documents," he said, his voice tight with concern. "Some of them are missing." The detailed files they had discovered earlier, containing crucial evidence of the genetic experiments, had been partially removed from their secure location. Emily's nursing colleagues had begun to act differently around her. Whispered conversations would stop when she approached, and she caught suspicious glances directed her way. The tension in the hospital corridors was palpable, creating an atmosphere of distrust that made her work increasingly difficult. Dr. Holden, drawing on his experience with wildlife research protocols, helped them establish secure documentation methods. "Whatever we're dealing with," he explained while setting up a private recording system, "they have access to the hospital's infrastructure. We need to be more careful about how we store information." The hybrid creatures, now housed in a specially prepared room, showed signs of improvement under proper medical care. Emily spent every free moment with them, her heart aching at the evidence of their previous treatment. The small one that had sought comfort in her arms at the concrete well had become particularly attached to her, displaying an intelligence that continued to astonish everyone involved in their care. Late one night, as Emily was updating their confidential records, she noticed movement in the corridor outside her office. Through the partially open door, she caught a glimpse of a familiar face, one of the hospital's longtime staff members, behaving very strangely. The individual was photographing their medical charts with a small specialized camera. The wolf, which had been resting nearby, immediately tensed. Its reaction confirmed Emily's suspicions. They had an informant within the hospital. Someone was feeding information to the people behind the experiments, explaining how they had known to clean up the forest facility so quickly. David appeared at her door, his expression grave. "The lab results we ordered," he whispered. "They've been accessed by unauthorized personnel." He showed her the system log on his tablet, revealing multiple irregular access attempts to their secure files. The pattern suggested professional infiltration, not mere curiosity. Dr. Holden, who had been conferring with colleagues at various wildlife research facilities, returned with more disturbing news. "Similar equipment failures have been reported at other medical centers," he reported, always following investigations into unusual animal cases. The implications were clear. This was part of a larger pattern, a systematic effort to suppress information about the genetic experiments. Emily found herself torn between her duty as a nurse and her growing role in uncovering this conspiracy. The hospital, once her sanctuary of healing and hope, had become a place of shadows and suspicion. Every equipment malfunction, every missing document, every strange behavior from her colleagues added to a mounting sense of danger. The wolf remained their most reliable ally, its extraordinary intelligence helping them identify potential threats. It would position itself strategically near their work areas, its presence both a comfort and a warning system. Emily had learned to trust its instincts, particularly when it grew agitated around certain hospital staff members. As they gathered in Emily's office to discuss their next steps, the gravity of their situation became clear. They were no longer safe in the hospital. Their discovery in Olympic Forest had set in motion events that threatened to overwhelm them. The question wasn't just about protecting the hybrid creatures anymore. It was about surviving long enough to expose the truth behind their creation. The decision to transfer the hybrid creatures to Wolf Haven International came with its own set of risks. Dr. Ben Holden had made the arrangements with the sanctuary, located south of Seattle, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that their movements were being watched. The wolf's increasing agitation only confirmed her suspicions as they prepared for the dangerous journey. "We'll need to take back roads," Dr. Holden explained, spreading a map across Emily's desk. "The sanctuary has a secure facility that can house our unusual guests, but getting there won't be easy." David Kane stood nearby, methodically packing medical supplies they might need during the transfer. The young resident's hands trembled slightly, betraying his anxiety about what lay ahead. The hybrid creatures were carefully loaded into specially prepared transport containers, each one designed to ensure both comfort and discretion. The small one that had bonded with Emily seemed particularly distressed by the confinement, its intelligent eyes fixed on her with an almost human-like understanding of the situation. They left Harborview Medical Center under the cover of early morning darkness, when the staff change would provide the most natural cover for their departure. The wolf, ever vigilant, took up position near the transport vehicle, its behavior suggesting it intended to accompany them on this journey. Emily had learned to trust the creature's instincts. They had proven invaluable too many times to ignore. The first sign of trouble came less than an hour into their journey. Through the rearview mirror, Emily spotted a black pickup truck identical to the one they had seen in Olympic Forest. "We're being followed," she whispered, her heart racing as Dr. Holden smoothly turned onto a side road, testing their suspicion. The black truck maintained its distance but stayed with them, its presence a constant reminder of the dangers they faced. David, monitoring the hybrid creatures in the back of their vehicle, reported that they were growing increasingly agitated. The wolf's behavior changed too, its powerful body tense, ears forward, sensing the pursuit. Dr. Holden's experience with wildlife pursuits proved invaluable as he navigated through increasingly remote areas. "There's something else," he said, his voice tight with concern. "Look at the road ahead." Emily saw what had caught his attention, fresh tire tracks suggesting other vehicles had recently passed this way, following the same route to the sanctuary. Their worst fears were confirmed when they rounded a bend and spotted several metal crates discarded by the roadside. Dr. Holden pulled over, and they cautiously investigated. The crates contained abandoned research equipment, specialized tools, syringes, and vials that spoke of sophisticated genetic manipulation operations. "They're moving their operation," David observed, examining the discarded equipment with his medical expertise. "These tools, they're designed for precise genetic modification procedures." The discovery added new urgency to their mission. They weren't just transporting rescued creatures, they were racing against those who would recapture them. The wolf suddenly grew alert, its attention fixed on something in the dense forest beside the road. Following its gaze, Emily spotted movement. One of the hybrid creatures they had freed from the concrete well had somehow escaped during transport. The small being moved with surprising speed through the underbrush, clearly disoriented. Without hesitation, the wolf sprang into action, disappearing into the forest. Emily's heart clenched with fear. They couldn't lose any of the creatures, not after coming so far. Dr. Holden, understanding the wolf's intention, quickly devised a plan to circle around and intercept the escaped hybrid. Their pursuit led them deeper into the wilderness, away from their planned route. The black truck that had been following them was momentarily left behind, but Emily knew their respite would be brief. As they moved through the forest, guided by the wolf's incredible tracking abilities, they discovered more evidence of the illegal operations, abandoned research stations, hastily cleared camps, and more specialized equipment. The wolf's intelligence showed itself once again as it successfully herded the escaped hybrid back toward them. The creature's behavior was remarkable. It worked with almost tactical precision, using its understanding of both human and animal behavior to guide the frightened being to safety. As they carefully secured the recovered hybrid, Emily noticed something unusual about the area where they had found it. Hidden beneath some fallen branches were more metal crates, these ones containing documents and data storage devices. Dr. Holden quickly gathered what they could. Every piece of evidence would be crucial in understanding the full scope of these experiments. The sound of approaching vehicles spurred them back into motion. The black truck had found them again, and this time, it wasn't alone. Looking back as they pulled away, Emily caught glimpse of multiple dark vehicles converging on the area they had just left. Their planned route to Wolf Haven International was now compromised, forcing them to improvise a new path through unfamiliar territory. The hybrid creatures, sensing the tension, remained surprisingly calm under the wolf's watchful presence. Emily realized that these beings shared a connection that went beyond simple animal instinct. They were bound together by their extraordinary circumstances. The approach to Wolf Haven International should have brought relief, but instead, Emily's heart sank as they drew near the sanctuary. Even from a distance, they could see signs of disturbance, gates left ajar, equipment scattered across the grounds, and an unsettling silence where there should have been the sounds of wildlife. "Something's wrong," Dr. Holden muttered, slowing their vehicle as they approached the main entrance. The wolf, which had been resting during the final leg of their journey, suddenly became alert, its powerful body tense with anticipation. The hybrid creatures in their transport containers grew increasingly agitated, sensing the disruption in what should have been their safe haven. David Kane, who had been monitoring their precious cargo, leaned forward between the seats. "The security cameras," he pointed out, "they're all facing the wrong directions." This detail, which might have seemed minor to others, spoke volumes about the deliberate nature of the disturbance. Someone had systematically disabled the sanctuary's surveillance system. As they cautiously pulled into the facility, the extent of the vandalism became clear. Research equipment lay broken on the ground, enclosure locks had been tampered with, and the main office door hung askew on its hinges. But what struck Emily most was the precision of the damage. This wasn't random destruction, but a calculated effort to disrupt the sanctuary's operations. The wolf took the lead as they explored the facility, its behavior suggesting it sensed hidden dangers. Emily stayed close to the transport containers, holding the hybrid creatures, her nursing instincts on high alert. These beings had already endured so much, they couldn't fail them now. "The damage is recent," Dr. Holden observed, examining the scattered equipment. "And look at these marks, the same type of tools we found in those abandoned crates." His experienced eyes picked out details that confirmed their fears. The same group that had conducted the forest experiments had reached the sanctuary first. Movement from one of the sanctuary buildings caught their attention. A staff member emerged, his familiar uniform providing a moment of hope. But the wolf's reaction told a different story. Its hackles raised, a low growl emanating from its throat. Emily had learned to trust these warnings. They had never been wrong. "James, is that you?" Dr. Holden called out, recognizing the sanctuary worker. The man's response seemed rehearsed, his movements too rigid as he approached. Emily noticed how his eyes kept darting to the transport containers, showing more interest in their cargo than in the facility's condition. David, who had been examining the sanctuary's medical supplies, suddenly called out in a hushed voice, "Dr. Holden, you need to see this." In the medical storage area, they found evidence of sophisticated monitoring equipment, devices that had no place in a wildlife sanctuary. The discovery confirmed their suspicions. They had an infiltrator in their midst. The wolf's behavior became increasingly protective, positioning itself between the group and the approaching staff member. Emily watched as James's hand moved toward his pocket, where something metallic caught the morning light. Dr. Holden, drawing on years of experience in tense wildlife situations, smoothly stepped forward to intercept him. "How long have you been working for them, James?" Dr. Holden's voice was calm but carried an edge of authority that stopped the man in his tracks. The question hung in the air, heavy with accusation. For a moment, no one moved, the only sound being the soft whimpers of the hybrid creatures in their containers. The confrontation that followed was brief but intense. James attempted to reach for what they later discovered was a signaling device, but the wolf's presence and Dr. Holden's quick action prevented him from succeeding. The man's captured device revealed a sophisticated communication network, proof of a larger organization monitoring the sanctuary. Emily worked quickly with David to secure their hybrid charges in one of the undamaged enclosures. These special beings seemed to understand the gravity of the situation, remaining remarkably calm despite the tension around them. The small one that had bonded with Emily pressed close to the enclosure wall nearest to her, its intelligent eyes reflecting a depth of understanding that still amazed her. As they secured the facility, they discovered more evidence of systematic surveillance. Hidden cameras, unauthorized monitoring equipment, and sophisticated tracking devices had been planted throughout the sanctuary. The infiltration went deeper than they had imagined. This wasn't just about sabotaging their arrival. It was about maintaining long-term surveillance of the sanctuary's operations. The wolf's behavior throughout the ordeal demonstrated an almost tactical understanding of security. It patrolled the perimeter, checked dark corners, and maintained a protective watch over the hybrid creatures. Its actions suggested not just animal instinct, but a calculated awareness of human threats. Night fell over the sanctuary, bringing with it new challenges. They had secured their immediate area, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The sanctuary, meant to be a place of safety and healing, had become another battlefield in their struggle to protect these extraordinary creatures. In the days following their arrival at Wolf Haven International, Emily and her companions began to witness behaviors in their hybrid charges that defied conventional understanding. After securing the sanctuary and establishing round-the-clock surveillance, they could finally focus on studying and caring for these remarkable beings. The first sign of their extraordinary capabilities came during a routine medical examination. David was checking the vital signs of one of the younger hybrids when the creature demonstrated an ability to understand and respond to complex medical instructions, behavior that went far beyond simple conditioning or training. The small being not only cooperated with the examination, but actively assisted, moving in ways that made the procedure easier. This isn't just enhanced intelligence, Dr. Holden observed, watching as the hybrids demonstrated problem-solving abilities that surpassed those of their natural counterparts. They're showing cognitive abilities that suggest a fundamental change in neural development. The wolf, which had appointed itself guardian of the group, seemed to take pride in their discoveries, as if confirming what it had known all along. Emily spent countless hours documenting their behaviors, her nursing background providing a unique perspective on their development. The hybrid that had first bonded with her showed particularly remarkable progress, demonstrating an ability to anticipate needs and respond to unspoken cues. It could interpret complex emotional states and respond with almost human-like empathy. "Look at this," David called out one morning, pointing to the security footage from the previous night. The recordings showed the hybrids engaging in coordinated behaviors, working together to solve environmental enrichment puzzles they had set up. Their problem-solving methods showed not just intelligence, but strategic thinking and cooperation. Dr. Holden's expertise in wildlife behavior helped them understand the significance of what they were witnessing. "These aren't just physical enhancements," he explained, reviewing their growing collection of data. "The genetic modifications have created beings with unprecedented cognitive capabilities. This must have been the true goal of the experiments, to create intelligent beings that could bridge the gap between human and animal consciousness." The wolf's behavior around the hybrids provided additional insights. It seemed to communicate with them on a level that went beyond normal animal interaction, suggesting a shared enhancement that allowed for complex information exchange. Emily observed how they would work together, the wolf often taking a leadership role in organizing their activities. As they learned more about their charge's capabilities, Emily began to formulate an idea. "We need to establish a specialized program," she proposed during one of their evening meetings, "not just for protection but for understanding and nurturing these abilities." Her suggestion was met with immediate support from both David and Dr. Holden. The program they designed would combine medical care, behavioral research, and protection protocols. They would create an environment where the hybrids could safely develop their abilities while being shielded from those who would exploit them. The wolf, seemingly understanding their intentions, became an active participant in their planning sessions. David's medical expertise proved invaluable as they developed health monitoring systems adapted to their unique patients. "Their physical capabilities are evolving along with their cognitive ones," he noted, showing them data from recent examinations. "Their healing rates, sensory perception, and physical coordination are all far beyond what we'd expect." The sanctuary's rehabilitation areas were modified to accommodate these special needs. They created spaces that would challenge their charge's intelligence while providing the security they needed. The hybrids responded to these changes with enthusiasm, their remarkable abilities becoming more evident with each passing day. One particularly striking demonstration of their capabilities came during an enrichment session. Emily had set up a complex puzzle that would have challenged even human problem-solving abilities. The hybrids not only solved it, but improved upon the design, showing an understanding of mechanical principles that left their caretakers astounded. Dr. Holden spent hours documenting these achievements, his scientific curiosity tempered by a deep concern for their welfare. "What we're seeing here," he explained to Emily and David, "is possibly the next step in evolution. But it's been artificially accelerated, forced into being for purposes we're only beginning to understand." The wolf maintained its vigilant protection throughout this period of discovery, but its role had evolved. It wasn't just a guardian anymore, but a bridge between the human caretakers and their extraordinary charges. Its own enhanced intelligence made it an invaluable participant in their program, helping to guide and structure their interactions with the hybrids. As Emily watched their charges develop and grow, she felt a deepening sense of responsibility. These beings represented something unprecedented in the natural world, creatures with the potential to reshape our understanding of consciousness and intelligence. Their protection and development had become more than a mission. It was a sacred trust. But even as they celebrated these discoveries, they couldn't forget the dangers that still lurked outside their sanctuary walls. The same capabilities that made these beings so remarkable also made them invaluable to those who had created them. Their program would need to balance the nurturing of these extraordinary abilities with the constant vigilance necessary to keep them safe. As Wolfhaven International transformed into a specialized research and protection facility, Emily found herself at the center of an unprecedented initiative. The program she had envisioned was taking shape, combining advanced medical care with sophisticated behavioral studies. Each day brought new revelations about their extraordinary charges, but also new challenges in keeping them safe. The hybrid creatures demonstrated increasing sophistication in their abilities. During morning sessions, Emily observed as they mastered increasingly complex tasks. The small one that had first captured her heart now showed an almost supernatural ability to anticipate and respond to human emotions, often moving to comfort staff members before they even realized they were distressed. Dr. Holden had developed a series of specialized tests to measure their cognitive development. "What we're seeing goes beyond enhanced intelligence," he explained during a briefing session. "They're developing abilities that suggest a fundamental leap in evolutionary development." The wolf, ever present during these discussions, seemed to understand and approve of their assessments. David's medical monitoring revealed even more surprising developments. "Their physiological adaptations are unprecedented," he reported, showing them detailed scans. "Their neural pathways are forming connections we've never seen before in any species." The young resident's initial fear had been replaced by professional fascination, though he never lost sight of the serious nature of their work. The sanctuary's security remained a constant concern. They had implemented sophisticated surveillance systems, but the wolf's instincts proved more reliable than any technology. It had an uncanny ability to detect potential threats, often alerting them to suspicious activity before their security systems registered anything unusual. Emily spent countless hours working directly with the hybrids, developing training protocols that would help them manage their growing abilities. The creatures showed a remarkable capacity for learning, but more importantly, they demonstrated a deep understanding of the need for discretion. They seemed to comprehend the dangers they faced and worked cooperatively to maintain their safety. "Look at this," David called out one afternoon, showing them footage from their behavioral studies. The hybrids had developed their own system of communication, combining vocalizations with subtle body language that even Dr. Holden, with all his experience, found fascinating. The wolf appeared to be central to this communication network, often serving as a bridge between different groups. The program's success brought its own challenges. As the hybrids' abilities grew, so did the complexity of caring for them. They required constant mental stimulation, specialized nutrition, and carefully structured social interaction. Emily worked tirelessly to maintain a balance between encouraging their development and ensuring their emotional well-being. Dr. Holden's research notes painted a picture of beings that existed at the intersection of human and animal consciousness. Their problem-solving abilities suggest an understanding of abstract concepts, he noted, but they retain the instinctual awareness and natural harmony of their wild ancestors. This unique combination made them both extraordinary and vulnerable. The wolf's role in the program became increasingly important. It seemed to understand the delicate balance they were trying to maintain, often intervening when the hybrid's enthusiasm for learning threatened to reveal too much of their capabilities. Its protective instincts had evolved into a sophisticated understanding of operational security. Emily found herself amazed by the depth of emotional intelligence displayed by their charges. During one particularly challenging day, when stress levels were high among the staff, the hybrids orchestrated a series of interactions that effectively lifted everyone's spirits. It was a stunning demonstration of their ability to understand and respond to complex emotional dynamics. The sanctuary's rehabilitation areas had been transformed into specialized learning environments. Each space was designed to challenge different aspects of the hybrids' developing abilities while maintaining their security. David had incorporated medical monitoring equipment that allowed them to track physical development without causing stress to their charges. Dr. Holden spent hours documenting the intricate social structures that had developed among the hybrids. "They're creating a completely new form of social organization," he explained, showing Emily and David his observations, one that combines the best aspects of both human and animal societies. The wolf seemed to play a crucial role in this social structure, acting as both leader and mediator. As the program evolved, Emily found herself increasingly moved by the trust these extraordinary beings placed in their human caretakers. Despite their growing abilities, they maintained a gentle demeanor, using their intelligence to help and protect rather than dominate. It was a powerful reminder of the responsibility they held, but even as they celebrated their successes, they couldn't ignore the growing signs of external interest in their work. Strange vehicles would sometimes be spotted on the access roads, and their security systems occasionally detected sophisticated attempts to breach their perimeter. The wolf's vigilance became more intense during these times, its behavior suggesting that the threats they faced were evolving along with their program. The success of the special program at Wolf Haven International had not gone unnoticed. Emily noticed increasing signs of surveillance around the sanctuary's perimeter, and Dr. Holden's security protocols were being tested with growing frequency. The wolf's behavior had become more alert, its protective instincts warning them of approaching dangers before their technology could detect them. David's morning rounds were interrupted by an unsettling discovery. Their specialized medical equipment had been subjected to sophisticated hacking attempts overnight. Though their security systems had prevented any data breach, the attempt itself revealed a disturbing truth. Someone was trying to access their research on the hybrid's extraordinary abilities. "They're not just trying to find them anymore," Dr. Holden explained during an emergency meeting. "They're trying to understand how we've managed to help them develop their abilities." The wolf, present at all their strategic discussions, showed clear signs of understanding the gravity of their situation, its intelligent eyes moving between the speakers as they discussed enhanced security measures. Emily had noticed changes in the hybrid's behavior as well. Their remarkable intelligence now extended to security awareness. They had begun to coordinate their activities in ways that minimized their visibility from outside the sanctuary. The small one that had first bonded with Emily seemed particularly attuned to potential threats, often alerting the others before danger approached. The sanctuary's security systems recorded increasingly sophisticated attempts to breach their perimeter. Unauthorized drones would appear briefly above the tree line, only to be confused by the sophisticated countermeasures Dr. Holden had installed. But each attempt revealed more about the resources and determination of those seeking to reclaim their experimental subjects. "Look at these patterns," David pointed out, reviewing security footage. "They're studying our routines, trying to find weaknesses in our protocols." The young residents' medical expertise had expanded to include security analysis, a necessary evolution in their struggle to protect their charges. The wolf's role had become even more crucial. Its enhanced intelligence allowed it to coordinate with both the human staff and the hybrids, creating a seamless security network that combined animal instinct with human strategic thinking. Emily watched in amazement as it organized patrol patterns among the hybrids that perfectly complemented their technological security measures. Dr. Holden's experience with wildlife protection proved invaluable as they adapted their security protocols. "They're using military-grade surveillance equipment," he noted, showing them evidence of recent intrusion attempts. "But they don't understand the advantage we have, the natural abilities of our charges combined with their enhanced intelligence." The hybrids demonstrated an extraordinary capacity for adaptation. They had learned to use their abilities in ways that enhanced the sanctuary's security while remaining invisible to outside observation. Their problem-solving skills now extended to creating sophisticated diversions when unauthorized observers approached their habitat areas. Emily spent long hours working with the sanctuary's staff, training them to recognize and respond to the subtle warning signs their charges provided. The bond between the human caretakers and the hybrids had grown stronger through adversity, creating a unified front against external threats. The wolf's protective instincts seemed to sharpen with each passing day. It had developed an almost supernatural ability to detect potential threats, often leading Emily and the others to discover surveillance equipment hidden in seemingly secure areas. Its intelligence and loyalty had become cornerstone elements of their security strategy. David's medical observations revealed another layer of adaptation. "Their stress responses are incredibly sophisticated," he reported. "They're not just reacting to threats, they're anticipating them and adjusting their behavior accordingly." This evolutionary leap in their development both amazed and concerned their caretakers. The sanctuary itself was constantly evolving, Dr. Holden had implemented a series of physical modifications designed to protect their charges, while allowing them to continue their remarkable development. Each enclosure now featured multiple layers of security, combining traditional measures with innovations suggested by the hybrids themselves. Emily found herself amazed by the level of cooperation between species. The hybrids worked seamlessly with the wolf and their human protectors, creating a security system that was both sophisticated and natural. Their extraordinary intelligence was now focused not just on learning and growth, but on protecting their newfound sanctuary. But even as their defensive capabilities grew stronger, so did the pressure from outside. Strange vehicles would appear on the access roads, their occupants clearly more than casual observers. Unauthorized communications signals would probe their security systems, seeking weaknesses in their digital armor. The wolf's heightened alertness told them that the sanctuary's challenges were far from over. The truth about the hybrid experiments began to emerge through careful analysis of the evidence they had gathered. In the sanctuary's secure research facility, Emily, David, and Dr. Holden pored over the documents and data recovered from the forest facility and abandoned crates. The wolf remained close by, its intelligent eyes following their discoveries with apparent understanding. Dr. Holden's expertise in wildlife behavior helped them decode the true implications of the research they'd found. These weren't random experiments, he explained, spreading out detailed genetic modification protocols across the conference table. Every alteration, every enhancement was precisely calculated to create beings with specific capabilities. The hybrid creatures, now thriving under their care, demonstrated abilities that aligned perfectly with the research objectives outlined in the recovered documents. David's medical observations had revealed patterns that suggested military applications, enhanced sensory capabilities, extraordinary problem-solving skills, and unprecedented adaptability. "Look at these test protocols," Emily pointed out, reviewing a series of documents they'd recovered. They weren't just trying to enhance physical abilities, they were attempting to create beings capable of complex strategic thinking. The wolf's attention intensified at her words, as if confirming their theories. David's analysis of the medical data revealed layers of sophistication in the genetic modifications. These alterations, he explained, highlighting specific sequences, they're designed to enhance cognitive development in ways that blur the line between human and animal intelligence. The implications of his discovery left them all momentarily silent. The hybrid creatures themselves seemed to sense the importance of these revelations. During their daily observations, Emily noticed how they would demonstrate abilities that perfectly matched the research objectives they were uncovering. The small one that had first captured her heart showed particular aptitude for the strategic thinking capabilities outlined in the documents. Dr. Holden's experience with wildlife research helped them understand the broader implications. They were creating perfect adaptive beings, he explained, his voice grave. Creatures capable of understanding complex human objectives while retaining their natural instincts and abilities. The wolf's behavior seemed to exemplify this perfect balance they had sought to achieve. The sanctuary's secure databases had begun to fill with evidence of a vast research network. Emily spent hours connecting the dots between different facilities, tracking patterns of movement and resource allocation that painted a picture of a massive, coordinated effort to develop these extraordinary beings. David's medical expertise revealed another layer of the program's sophistication. The genetic modifications weren't just random experiments, he noted, showing them detailed medical scans. They were building towards something specific, beings capable of operating in both human and natural environments with unprecedented effectiveness. The wolf's role in their discoveries became increasingly significant. Its behavior suggested not just enhanced intelligence, but a deep understanding of the program's objectives. It would often guide their attention to specific details in their research, as if helping them understand the full scope of what had been attempted. Emily found herself amazed by the complexity of what they were uncovering. The hybrid program had been designed to create beings that could bridge the gap between human strategic thinking and animal instinctive abilities. Each modification, each enhancement had been carefully calculated to serve this ultimate goal. The sanctuary's research facility had become a center for understanding these extraordinary developments. Dr. Holden had established secure protocols for documenting their findings, knowing that the knowledge they were gathering was as valuable as the beings they protected. The wolf maintained its vigilant presence during their research sessions, its behavior suggesting it understood the importance of their work. Their discoveries also revealed the ethical implications of the program. The documents showed how the researchers had pushed the boundaries of genetic modification without regard for the welfare of their subjects. Emily's heart ached as she read accounts of failed experiments and discarded subjects, understanding now why the wolf had been so desperate to seek their help. David's analysis of the medical protocols revealed the systematic nature of the program. They were methodically working toward specific military applications, he explained, showing them detailed performance metrics, enhanced surveillance capabilities, improved tactical coordination, advanced problem-solving skills, everything a perfect operative would need. The hybrid creatures demonstrated an almost prescient awareness of these revelations. Their behavior became more focused, more deliberate, as if understanding that their human protectors now comprehended the full scope of their capabilities. The wolf's protective instincts seemed to intensify, recognizing that this knowledge made their sanctuary even more vulnerable to outside interests. The sanctuary's warning systems activated in the pre-dawn hours, breaking the peaceful rhythm they had established at Wolf Haven International. Emily rushed to the security center, where Dr. Holden was already reviewing multiple camera feeds. The wolf, alert and focused, had positioned itself near the monitors, its behavior suggesting it sensed something their technology hadn't yet detected. Multiple vehicles approaching from different directions, Dr. Holden reported, his voice tense as he tracked the movement on their perimeter sensors. The sophistication of the approach suggested military training, a coordinated effort to test their defenses. David arrived moments later, bringing reports of unusual activity near the hybrid enclosures. The hybrid creatures had already responded to the threat, demonstrating their extraordinary intelligence by implementing security protocols they had practiced. The small one that had bonded with Emily led the others in a carefully choreographed movement pattern, making it impossible for outside observers to track their numbers or locations. They're using advanced surveillance equipment, David noted, pointing to strange signal patterns on their detection systems. The sanctuary's security measures, enhanced by Dr. Holden's expertise, were being challenged by technology that seemed beyond civilian capabilities. The wolf's behavior confirmed their concerns. This was no ordinary security test. Emily watched as their charges executed perfectly coordinated defensive maneuvers. The hybrids had developed their own security strategies, combining their enhanced intelligence with natural instincts in ways that continued to amaze their protectors. Their ability to anticipate and respond to threats had evolved far beyond what anyone had expected. Dr. Holden's wildlife expertise proved invaluable as they coordinated their response. "They're trying to map our routines," he explained, showing them patterns in the probing attacks. "But they don't understand that our security isn't just technological, it's adaptive living." The wolf seemed to approve of his assessment, its intelligent eyes fixed on the monitoring screens. The sanctuary's defensive systems had been designed to work in harmony with their charge's natural abilities. Emily had helped develop protocols that utilized the hybrid's extraordinary capabilities while keeping them safe from discovery. Now those systems were being put to their ultimate test. David's medical monitoring revealed how the hybrids were adapting to the pressure. "Their stress levels are elevated," he reported, "but they're managing it in ways that suggest they understand the importance of maintaining calm." The young residents' amazement at their charge's emotional intelligence had never wavered. The wolf's role in coordinating their defense became crucial. It moved between different areas of the sanctuary, somehow maintaining communication with both the hybrids and the human staff. Its enhanced intelligence allowed it to synthesize information from multiple sources, helping them stay ahead of the probing attacks. Emily found herself moved by the level of cooperation between species. The hybrids worked seamlessly with their protective systems, using their intelligence to enhance rather than replace the sanctuary's security measures. Their ability to understand and respond to complex situations had become their greatest defense. Dr. Holden's experience with wildlife protection helped them identify patterns in the intrusion attempts. They're learning from each attempt, he observed, tracking multiple security breaches. But so are we, and more importantly, so are our charges. The Wolf's steady presence seemed to emphasize his words. The sanctuary's systems recorded increasingly sophisticated attempts to breach their perimeter. Unknown devices would appear and disappear, testing their electronic defenses. But the hybrids had developed an almost supernatural ability to detect and respond to these probes, often neutralizing threats before they fully materialized. David's ongoing research had revealed new aspects of their charges' capabilities. They're not just reacting to threats, he explained during a brief respite. They're anticipating them, developing countermeasures before they're needed. The Wolf's behavior suggested it played a key role in this predictive defense strategy. Emily watched as the hybrid creatures demonstrated levels of coordination that defied conventional understanding. They moved through the sanctuary's spaces with precise awareness of sightlines and surveillance angles, making it impossible for outside observers to gather accurate intelligence about their numbers or capabilities. The pressure was constant, but their defensive capabilities grew stronger with each challenge. The sanctuary had become more than a refuge. It was a proving ground for the extraordinary abilities of their charges. The Wolf's unwavering vigilance reminded them all that their mission extended beyond protection to understanding and nurturing these remarkable beings. The constant pressure on Wolf Haven International had transformed the sanctuary into a fortress of cooperation between species. Emily watched in amazement as their hybrid charges developed increasingly sophisticated methods of protection, working in perfect harmony with the Wolf and their human guardians. Each day brought new challenges, but also new demonstrations of their extraordinary capabilities. Dr. Holden's security monitors painted a picture of escalating surveillance attempts. Unknown vehicles would appear on distant access roads, equipped with technology that seemed designed specifically to penetrate their defenses. But the hybrids had developed an uncanny ability to sense these intrusions before they even registered on their equipment. Their adaptive capabilities are remarkable, David observed during one of their security briefings. The young residents' medical monitoring had revealed how the hybrid creatures were evolving their responses to stress, developing new neural pathways that enhanced their already extraordinary abilities. The Wolf, ever present during these discussions, seemed to understand the significance of these developments. Emily had noticed how the small hybrid that first connected with her had begun teaching others to recognize and respond to potential threats. Their capacity for learning and adaptation had exceeded all expectations, creating a living security system that no technology could match. The Wolf worked alongside them, its enhanced intelligence helping to coordinate their efforts. The sanctuary's defensive measures had grown more sophisticated through necessity. Dr. Holden's expertise helped them integrate traditional security with the natural abilities of their charges. They're not just responding to threats anymore, he explained, showing them footage of recent interactions. They're creating innovative solutions we never could have designed. David's medical observations revealed another layer of development. The stress of constant surveillance has actually accelerated their evolution, he reported, reviewing their latest data. They're developing new capabilities almost daily. The Wolf's behavior suggested it played a crucial role in this rapid adaptation, often demonstrating new techniques for the others to learn. The hybrid creatures had begun to organize themselves in ways that maximized their protective capabilities. Emily watched as they established complex patrol patterns, combining their enhanced senses with strategic thinking that seemed almost military in its precision. Their ability to process and respond to potential threats had become almost supernatural. Dr. Holden's wildlife experience helped them understand the full scope of their charge's development. What we're seeing is unprecedented, he observed during a quiet moment between security checks. They've created a perfect synthesis of human intelligence and animal instinct. The Wolf's attentive presence seemed to confirm his assessment. The sanctuary itself had evolved under their care. Every space had been adapted to serve multiple purposes, providing safety for their charges, while allowing them to continue developing their extraordinary abilities. Emily had helped design areas that encouraged both protection and growth, understanding that their security depended on the continued development of their charges' capabilities. David's ongoing research revealed how the hybrids were sharing knowledge among themselves. "They're not just learning individually," he explained, showing them evidence of coordinated behavior patterns. "They're developing a collective intelligence that enhances their individual abilities." The wolf appeared to play a central role in this knowledge transfer, often demonstrating new techniques for the others to follow. The pressure from outside never truly ceased, but their defensive capabilities grew stronger with each passing day. Emily found herself amazed by the level of cooperation between all species involved in protecting the sanctuary. The hybrid creatures worked seamlessly with their human guardians, creating layers of security that no single approach could have achieved. Dr. Holden's security protocols had been enhanced by suggestions from their charges. The hybrids demonstrated an incredible ability to identify potential weaknesses and develop innovative solutions. The wolf's intelligence seemed to bridge the gap between human strategic thinking and animal instinct, creating a unified approach to sanctuary defense. The sanctuary's successful resistance had not gone unnoticed. Their ability to protect their charges while fostering their development had attracted attention from those who understood the significance of their work. Emily knew that their mission had grown beyond simple protection. They were now guardians of something unprecedented in the natural world. As fall turned to winter at Wolf Haven International, Emily found herself reflecting on the extraordinary journey that had begun with a single wolf's arrival at Harborview Medical Center. The sanctuary had evolved into something far beyond its original purpose, a place where the boundaries between human and animal intelligence were constantly being redefined. Dr. Holden's latest research findings had confirmed what they'd all suspected. Their hybrid charges were continuing to develop in ways that challenged all previous understanding of cognitive evolution. "They're not just adapting anymore," he explained during a late-night research session. "They're actively advancing their own capabilities." The wolf, silent but attentive, seemed to understand the significance of these observations. The small hybrid that had first captured Emily's heart now demonstrated abilities that bordered on prescience. It could anticipate security threats hours before they materialized, coordinating with the others to create sophisticated defensive strategies. Their collective intelligence had grown to a level that both amazed and humbled their human protectors. David's medical monitoring had revealed unprecedented developments in their charge's neural architecture. "Their brains are creating new neural pathways," he reported, showing them the latest scans. "They're developing abilities we don't even have names for yet." The young residents' initial skepticism had long since been replaced by wonder at their charge's extraordinary evolution. The sanctuary's security systems had become almost secondary to the natural protective abilities of their charges. The hybrid creatures had developed their own methods of surveillance and defense, working in perfect harmony with the wolf to create an impenetrable shield around their home. Their ability to process and respond to potential threats had reached levels that seemed almost supernatural. Emily spent long hours documenting these developments, understanding that they were witnessing something unprecedented in the history of life on Earth. The hybrid creatures had transcended their original programming, developing abilities that went far beyond what their creators had intended. The wolf's presence seemed to catalyze these changes, its enhanced intelligence helping to guide their evolution. Dr. Holden's experience with wildlife behavior helped them understand the broader implications of what they were witnessing. "They're not just surviving," he observed, watching their charges interact. "They're creating an entirely new paradigm of existence." The wolf's behavior suggested it understood its role in this transformation, often demonstrating new capabilities for the others to learn. The pressure from outside continued, but it had taken on a different character. Those who sought to reclaim the hybrids now seemed more interested in understanding how they had achieved such extraordinary development. The sanctuary's security logs recorded increasingly sophisticated attempts to gather information rather than breach their defenses. David's ongoing research revealed how the hybrids were sharing their knowledge not just among themselves, but with their human protectors. "They're trying to teach us," he explained, showing them evidence of deliberate demonstration behaviors. "They understand things about consciousness and communication that we're only beginning to grasp." The wolf's attentive presence during these sessions suggested it played a crucial role in this knowledge transfer. The sanctuary itself had become a living laboratory of interspecies cooperation. Emily watched as their charges developed new ways of interacting with their environment and their human guardians. Their problem-solving abilities had evolved beyond simple intelligence into something that resembled wisdom, demonstrating an understanding of the delicate balance between progress and preservation. Dr. Holden's security protocols had evolved alongside their charges' capabilities. The hybrid creatures now participated actively in designing and implementing protective measures, their unique perspective leading to innovations that no human could have conceived. The wolf's strategic intelligence helped bridge the gap between human planning and animal instinct. As winter settled over the sanctuary, Emily realized that their mission had transformed into something far more significant than protection. They had become guardians of a new form of evolution, witnesses to the emergence of beings that could reshape our understanding of consciousness itself. The weight of this responsibility was balanced by the joy of watching their charges continue to grow and develop. The hybrid creatures' latest demonstrations of ability suggested they were approaching another breakthrough in their development. Their collective intelligence had begun to manifest in ways that hinted at capabilities yet to be revealed. The wolf's behavior had become more focused, as if anticipating something momentous on the horizon. As they prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead, Emily found strength in the unity they had forged. Human, wolf, and hybrid working together had created something unique in the world, a community based on mutual understanding and protection. Their shared mission had transcended the original circumstances of their meeting, becoming a testament to the possibilities that emerged when different species worked together in harmony. Winter at Wolf Haven International had brought with it a profound sense of transformation. The sanctuary, once a simple wildlife refuge, had evolved into a beacon of hope for the future of interspecies cooperation. Emily Foster stood at the observation window, watching as the hybrid creatures demonstrated their latest breakthrough, a level of synchronized intelligence that seemed to transcend all natural boundaries. The small hybrid that had first appeared at Harborview Medical Center now led its companions in displaying abilities that seemed almost miraculous. Their collective consciousness had developed to a point where they could communicate complex ideas not just among themselves, but with their human protectors as well. The wolf, standing proud among them, had become the bridge between two worlds. Dr. Holden's latest research findings had confirmed something extraordinary. They've created their own unique form of society, he explained during their final review session. One that combines the best aspects of human intelligence with the pure instincts of the natural world. The wolf's attentive presence during these discussions suggested it understood its role in this remarkable evolution. David's medical observations had revealed the full scope of their development. Their neural networks have evolved beyond anything we could have imagined, he reported, showing them the final series of scans. They've developed abilities that redefine what we thought was possible. The young resident's face shone with wonder as he documented these unprecedented changes. The sanctuary's security had evolved into something far more sophisticated than mere physical protection. The hybrid creatures had developed an almost supernatural ability to maintain their safety through intelligence and cooperation rather than force. Their methods demonstrated a deep understanding of the balance between security and freedom. Emily had helped establish a permanent program at the sanctuary, one that would ensure the continued protection and development of these extraordinary beings. The hybrid creatures had shown them that the future lay not in domination or control, but in mutual understanding and respect between all species. The wolf's role had become legendary among those who worked at the sanctuary. Its enhanced intelligence had helped guide the development of its companions while maintaining their connection to their natural instincts. The balance it struck between advancement and preservation became a model for their entire program. Dr. Holden's expertise had helped them document everything they had learned, creating a legacy that would guide future generations. What we've witnessed here, he noted, reviewing their final reports, is nothing less than the next step in the evolution of consciousness itself. The wolf's proud stance seemed to confirm the significance of their achievements. The pressure from outside had gradually transformed into cautious respect. Those who had once sought to reclaim the hybrids now sought to understand the principles that had allowed them to flourish. The sanctuary's success had demonstrated that progress was possible without compromising ethical principles. David's ongoing research had revealed how the hybrids were actively working to share their knowledge with humanity. They understand things about consciousness and cooperation that we're only beginning to grasp, he explained, showing evidence of their teaching behaviors. The wolf continued to play a crucial role in this knowledge transfer, bridging the gap between species. The sanctuary itself had become a living testament to what was possible when different species worked together in harmony. Emily watched as their charges demonstrated their abilities not as a show of power, but as an invitation to understand and learn from each other. Their extraordinary intelligence had evolved into true wisdom. As Emily completed her final observations, she realized that their journey had come full circle. What had begun as a desperate attempt to protect unusual creatures had evolved into a mission to preserve and nurture a new form of consciousness. The hybrid beings had shown them a path toward a future where intelligence and instinct could exist in perfect balance. The wolf stood watch over its companions, its enhanced intelligence now focused on preserving the legacy they had created together. The hybrid creatures moved with grace and purpose, their every action demonstrating the remarkable synthesis they had achieved between human consciousness and animal wisdom. Looking out over the sanctuary, Emily knew that their work had only begun. The understanding they had gained would continue to evolve, offering hope for a future where all species could reach their full potential while maintaining their essential nature. The bond between human, wolf, and hybrid had created something unprecedented, a model for cooperation that transcended all natural boundaries. As snow began to fall over Wolf Haven International, Emily Foster smiled, knowing that they had not just protected these extraordinary beings, they had helped create a legacy that would inspire generations to come. Dear listeners, we hope this extraordinary journey of Emily, Dr. Holden, and their remarkable charges at Wolf Haven International has touched your hearts. If you've been moved by this tale of courage, discovery, and the incredible bonds that can form between species, we invite you to join us for more inspiring stories. Click the subscribe button to your left to ensure you never miss our daily updates of unique and touching narratives that explore the depths of connection and understanding. If this story resonated with you, please show your support by giving it a like and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Together, we can continue to discover and share stories that remind us of the extraordinary possibilities that exist when different beings work together in harmony.